Imagine you have exactly 1 year left to live. Just 365 days. How would you spend today? Would you still scroll mindlessly through social media? Would you still hold on to that grudge? Would you still postpone your dreams? Here's something most people never realize. The secret to living fully isn't ignoring death, it's remembering it. This is the ancient practice of Memento Mori. Steve Jobs looked in the mirror every morning and asked, "If today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today?" When the answer was no, too many days in a row, he knew something had to change. Today, you'll discover why the world's wisest minds practice death meditation daily and how it can transform your life right now. What is Memento Mori? Memento Mori is Latin for "remember you must die." In ancient Rome, when a victorious general paraded through the streets while crowds cheered, a slave stood behind him whispering, "Memento Mori, remember, you are mortal." This wasn't meant to depress him. It was meant to keep him grounded. The Stoics took this further. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This wasn't pessimism. This was radical clarity. But today, we do the opposite. We avoid death at all costs. We use euphemisms. Passed away. Lost someone. We hide mortality behind hospital walls. Research from the University of Missouri found that people who avoid thinking about death actually experience more anxiety and live less meaningful lives. The irony: ignoring death doesn't make you safer. It makes you asleep. So, let's wake up. Here are 5 ways death awareness transforms how you live. Number 1. It cuts through trivial concerns. Terror management theory reveals something fascinating. When people are reminded of their mortality, they immediately stop sweating the small stuff. In a study at the University of Arizona, participants reminded of death showed 40% less concern about minor social embarrassments. Why? Because death perspective activates your brain's priority system. Think about it. On your deathbed, will you care that your presentation wasn't perfect? That someone didn't like your post? That you had a bad hair day? Death awareness is the ultimate filter. It reveals what's meaningful and what's just noise. Number 2, it creates healthy urgency. Procrastination dies when you remember you will die. Seneca warned, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Stanford psychologist Laura Carstensen discovered that when people perceive time as limited, they automatically prioritize meaningful activities. They stop waiting. That book you want to write? That person you need to forgive? That trip you keep postponing? You're waiting for the right time. But here's the truth. You don't have unlimited time. The right time might never come. Research shows terminal patients often feel more alive in their final months than in previous decades. They stop postponing. Why wait for a diagnosis to wake up? Number 3, it deepens your relationships. When you truly internalize that everyone you love will die, including you, something shifts. Petty resentments dissolve. You stop taking people for granted. Harvard's 85-year grant study concluded, good relationships keep us happier and healthier, period. Not money. Not career. Relationships. Psychiatrist Irvin Yalom found that terminal patients often called their diagnosis a wake-up call that saved their relationships. They stopped sweating small conflicts. They said, "I love you more." They listened deeper. You don't need a terminal diagnosis. Just remember, every conversation could be your last with that person. Tonight, hug your loved ones like you mean it, because one day you won't get another chance. Number 4, it dissolves your ego, your reputation, your status, your possessions. Death makes clear they're all temporary. Schopenhauer wrote, "The wise man regards all human affairs as trivial." Not to be cynical, but to be free from the ego's exhausting performance. University of Kentucky researchers found that mortality reminders reduce materialistic values by 35%. People care less about impressing others and more about authentic living. Your ego is terrified of death because death ends its game. But your true self has been waiting to be freed from the ego's prison. The paradox. Accepting you'll be forgotten is the first step to living memorably. Number 5. It reveals your purpose. Viktor Frankl survived Auschwitz and discovered those who have a why to live can bear almost any how. Death awareness forces the question, what is your why? Bronnie Ware, a palliative care nurse, recorded the top regret of the dying. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Not, I wish I'd worked harder or made more money. The deepest regret is living someone else's script. Death perspective gives you permission to stop living for others' expectations. Your time is finite. If you died today, would your life reflect your values or someone else's expectations? The practice. Here are 3 practices you can start immediately. First, daily death meditation. Every morning, spend 2 minutes contemplating. Today could be my last day. What actually matters? The Buddhists call this Maranasati. Johns Hopkins research found it increases life satisfaction by 25%. Simple script. I will die. Maybe today, maybe in decades, but certainly. So what matters today? Who do I need to love? What do I need to create? What do I need to release? Second, weekly perspective shift. Every Sunday, ask, if I died this week, would I be proud of how I spent my time? Did you prioritize relationships over screens? Create or just consume? Live by your values or drift? This isn't about perfection. It's about direction. Third, the Deathbed Decision Filter. Before major decisions, ask, on my deathbed, which choice will I be glad I made? The safe job or meaningful work? Hold the grudge or forgive? Stay comfortable or grow? Your deathbed self knows the answer. Listen now. The transformation. When you practice Memento Mori consistently, here's what changes. You stop procrastinating on what matters. You forgive faster. You speak your truth more. You tolerate less nonsense. You appreciate ordinary moments, coffee with a friend, a sunset, your child's laugh. Paradoxically, remembering death makes you fall in love with life. Not fantasy future life, but this life, right now, with all its imperfections. The Stoics weren't pessimists. They were the most grateful people alive because they knew every day was borrowed time. But here's the warning. If you forget you're going to die, you'll forget you're alive. You'll sleepwalk through years. You'll say someday until there are no more days. Death isn't the tragedy. The tragedy is reaching the end and realizing you never really lived. Memento Mori isn't about death. It's about waking up before it's too late.